Hello, Professor Rosemary here and welcome to my lab. Today we'll be making some simple Valentine's cookies, which for me is an opportunity to practice using royal icing too. So with that said, let's get making. Let me share with you a Valentine's heartbreak story. My initial idea was a bit more ambitious. I initially made langue de chat, which are thin, crispy butter cookies. The idea was to punch holes in them, write a Valentine's message, then tie them together to create an edible Valentine's card. But I quickly realized that this involved a bit too many moving parts, and I didn't trust that the cookies would make it till I finished filming. I also had some difficulties with the decorating, considering that it was kind of my first time actually using royal icing. I was hoping that I'd nail it on my first try, but I ultimately decided to take what I learned from this attempt and try again. Enter my favorite sugar cookie recipe. This has been my go-to cookie recipe for a while now, because it holds its shape quite well, can be used instantly without chilling it first, and it's very versatile when it comes to flavoring. I'm going with orange zest today, which I'm adding together with the butter and sugar. I'm folding the ingredients instead of whipping and creaming them, because we're not trying to incorporate air in this step. Then we mix in our egg and vanilla, followed by our flour and cornstarch. I've also added some salt at this stage, which makes the cookies so much zestier. At first it might look like there's too much flour, but trust the process and the dough will gradually come together. I like to go in with my hands at the last leg to mix the last of it. Once just combined, we divide the dough into 2 to 3 pieces, wrap them up into a flat disc and refrigerate them. Refrigeration here is optional, but it helps quite a lot if you want to make intricate shapes. I'm using a 5x6 cm template today for my cookie cards. Once we've cut out our shapes, I like to freeze the dough for 5 minutes before transferring them to a baking sheet. And after a short stay in the oven, we have some amazingly addicting salted orange cookies, which you'll have to resist finishing to move on to the next step. To make our royal icing, we start by whipping some egg whites till frothy. Then we add our vanilla and sifted powdered sugar, a tablespoon at a time, and whip until soft peaks form. I also made some parchment cones to give myself more control over the piping. Alright, and now for the fun part. Okay, who am I kidding? I am terrified. I am not at all confident in my icing work, and I may be a bit too ambitious with my designs. Plus, I'm horrible at freehanding, so to help myself along, I scanned my designs, flipped them around, and traced over key points on some baking paper with food coloring so I can just stamp it on. Quite a genius idea, if it actually worked. Subsequent attempts included tracing the designs directly so I can slap them onto the cookies later, as well as writing my message in reverse, then dropping my icing and cookie on top. I was about to throw in the towel, but that's when the YouTube algorithm overheard my woes and showed me the magic of the tissue transfer, where we trace our design on, you guessed it, a piece of tissue paper with an edible marker, gently so it doesn't tear. Then we trace over the tissue again over our cookie and voila! This leaves just enough food coloring that we have a guide. For simpler shapes, I used a cookie cutter dipped in diluted food coloring to mark where I wanted them. Now to outline and color our designs, we need to talk about icing consistencies, which I did mess up in the first attempt, and it made the whole process a bit of a pain. There are 3 additional consistencies that you can achieve by mixing in a bit of water at a time. Fresh after you're done whipping, your icing should cling pretty firmly to your whisk. This can be used to glue things together like in gingerbread houses, but it's too thick to be piped fluidly and you'll end up giving yourself hand cramps like me in the first attempt. What you want to do is add water until your icing feels soft, floppy and stretchy, but still maintains visible streaks. It took me a few tries to get it right, but you can get pretty detailed lines that don't break off easily with this consistency. To cover a large area without the icing flowing off your cookie, you'll want the icing to flow off your whisk in blobs, with the trails taking at least 15 seconds to merge with the rest of the icing. I use this for the blush and highlight words. I can't decide if this process was therapeutically stressful or stressfully therapeutic. Either way, now that we have our outlines done, we can make our flit-filled colors. We'll want the icing to flow smoothly off the whisk, with the trail merging back with the icing in about 10 seconds or less, essentially turning our cookies into a coloring book. And with that, we are done! So there you have it, a batch of edible Valentine's Day cookie cards. My icing definitely needs work. I only realized at the end that I should have piped in the colors before I drew on the outline to make things look more crisp. But either way, I'm proud of our lineup today. I think they came out super cute. So that's all for now. Subscribe if you've made it this far, share these cookies with a loved one, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye bye.